Gray rain streaked down the windshield as Ben Turner gripped the steering wheel, staring at the dashboard like it held the answers to his life. The Honda Civic wasn't flashy, 2018, 65,000 miles, functional, but it was his. His lifeline from the call center to the apartment where he microwaved dinners for one. His escape from a life that felt paused, a world moving on without him. 2 days ago, he'd driven off the lot with a sense of emptiness masked as practicality. Nothing had changed. Work still drained him, and home still echoed with the silence of wasted evenings. Yet tonight, as he scrolled through the car's settings, something caught his eye, a saved address labeled simply home. He frowned. A leftover setting from the previous owner, maybe. He was about to delete it when curiosity tugged him. There was nothing to lose. No appointments, no plans, no one waiting. It was a tiny rebellion against monotony, a spark in the gray. Saturday morning came with a misty chill. Ben's fingers drummed on the wheel as he left the city behind. Freeways gave way to winding roads flanked by pine and rock. Hours passed and the landscape became unrecognizable. No houses, no neighborhoods, just the hush of mountains rising like walls against the sky. He reached a clearing with a wooden bench overlooking a valley bathed in mist. Sitting there was an old man with white hair, flannel jacket, and eyes that carried decades of grief and quiet strength. "You came," the man said. Ben's mouth went dry. I think there's a mistake. I don't know you." "I know your car," the man said softly. "Michael Carver's car. He's gone." Time stopped. The words collided with him, and for a moment, all he could do was blink. Grief. Loss. A name he had never known became a tether connecting him to something larger than himself. I bought it from a dealership. I didn't know." The old man, Thomas, nodded as if it was meant to be. That's how it was supposed to happen. Michael believed that the right person would follow curiosity. And you did. Ben's curiosity had led him here 2 hours into a misty mountain valley, to a man waiting on a bench, to a story that wasn't his yet somehow belonged to him now. The world outside seemed to fade, the hum of the city, the call center, his apartment, all irrelevant. There was only the bench, the view, and the weight of what curiosity could bring: connection, revelation, purpose. Thomas's voice broke through his thoughts. "Sit. Let me tell you about him." And for the first time in years, Ben listened, fully present, feeling something he hadn't in ages, alive. Thomas spoke as if the years of grief could pour out in a single afternoon. Michael, 32 when cancer took him, had lived a life driven by passion. Adventure, photography, exploration. A restless spirit made tangible in images of mountains, deserts, and oceans. He and Thomas had shared everything: trips, stories, even the scattering of a mother's ashes at this very overlook. Ben felt the hollowness in his chest swell and then ebb as he listened. 2 years of stagnation, aimless existence, the mindless rhythm of the call center, all contrasted with Michael's urgency to live fully. Each word Thomas spoke created a mirror for Ben. Could curiosity, even small, pointless curiosity, spark change? The envelope sat in Thomas's lap. Its contents, Michael's final message, had been waiting for the right person. He said whoever followed the GPS should see it, Thomas said. Ben's fingers brushed the worn paper. The handwriting trembled, fragile yet deliberate. "Life isn't about having it all figured out," the letter began. "It's about following what makes you curious, what sparks your pulse, what makes you feel alive." Ben's pulse quickened. Every mundane evening, every wasted hour, every resignation felt like a prelude to this moment. He realized he had been waiting for something external to jolt him awake, and somehow, Michael's foresight had orchestrated it. Thomas shared more than Michael's triumphs. He spoke of failures, heartbreaks, and the courage to start over. Ben found himself admitting truths he had buried: graduate school abandoned, work that drained him, life slipping past in grayscale. Thomas listened without judgment, just presence. That was enough. The sky shifted into hues of amber and rose. Shadows stretched across the valley as sunlight kissed the mountains. Ben felt an unfamiliar ache, grief, not his, but shared grief, threaded with hope. Thomas pointed to the fading light. This is why he loved it here. Every sunset a reminder to live. Ben understood that curiosity, which had seemed trivial, was transformative. It brought him here, to Thomas, to Michael's legacy. It was no longer just a detour, it was initiation into a life he had avoided but always desired. He knew instinctively that something had changed. The emptiness that had shadowed him for years felt lighter. He could leave this overlook and still carry its weight in a new way, alert, awake, aware of the infinite possibilities that awaited attention, curiosity, and care. Michael's letter guided Ben through truths that unsettled him. Follow curiosity, it said, but what did that mean in practice? Should he take risks? Change careers? Seek connection where he'd avoided it? Thomas's stories crystallized the paradox. Life demanded action, often small, but deliberate. And yet, the letter was also a challenge. Ben realized he was not just receiving advice, he was inheriting responsibility. To honor Michael, to complete this chain of connection, he had to step into uncertainty. The overlook became a crucible. Ben felt anger at his own passivity. Years of waiting had accumulated into guilt and longing. He remembered the phone calls with irate customers, the lonely meals, the muted life of his apartment. All of it was weight he had carried, but now it confronted him in stark contrast to Michael's intensity of living. "What if I fail?" he asked Thomas, voice cracking. "Then you try again," Thomas replied. That's what he would have done. Ben left the bench with Michael's letter in hand, heart heavy but resolute. The Civic hummed along the winding roads, carrying not just a driver but a choice. Each turn was symbolic, an echo of life's uncertainties, urging him to pay attention, to act. Back in the city, mundane things no longer felt mundane. Ben enrolled in a photography class, simple but deliberate. He felt alive behind the camera, seeing light, shadow, and life in ways he hadn't before. His apartment grew brighter, not from renovation but from his engagement with his own life. Gabby entered quietly, small interactions at a bookstore, shared interests, tentative connections. Each moment mirrored Michael's lessons. Curiosity opens doors. Ben began to feel a sense of agency he had never known. The twist wasn't external, it was the awakening within him. He realized he had spent years living as a spectator, now he was a participant. Life had given him a script he could rewrite, a GPS that pointed inward as much as outward. Weeks turned into months. Ben's photography evolved, each frame a testament to presence. He captured the overlook, sunsets, fleeting clouds, moments Thomas had once shared with Michael. With Gabby, he discovered connection, companionship without pressure, curiosity shared. Saturdays remained sacred. He returned to the overlook, often sitting with Thomas, absorbing lessons of courage, grief, and love. Yet doubt lingered. Could he fully honor Michael's vision? Could he live without fear of failure or insignificance? One evening, Thomas handed him another letter, one Michael had written for the person who followed curiosity. This was the culmination, the charge to live fully. Ben read, "Life isn't predictable. Plans fail. People leave. But if you follow curiosity, show up, and pay attention, you will find what matters. Not wealth, not accolades, but connection. Presence. Awareness. That is enough." Ben felt tears burn his eyes. For the first time, the world felt expansive, and he was in it. Not lost, not stagnant, but a participant navigating uncertainty with curiosity as his compass. The sun dipped behind the mountains, painting everything in gold. Ben, Thomas, and Gabby sat together on the bench, silence heavy yet comforting. Words were unnecessary. Presence was enough. Ben finally spoke. "I was afraid I'd miss my life, that I'd waste it. Now I see that the smallest acts, the curiosity to follow a GPS address, can change everything." Thomas nodded, eyes glistening. "You've completed his journey, but you've also created your own." The wind carried leaves across the overlook. Ben realized life wasn't about grand achievements or perfect plans. It was about noticing, participating, connecting, and daring to follow the small sparks that ignite meaning. The Civic sat in the parking lot unassuming. It had delivered him here, not just geographically but spiritually. The journey wasn't over, it was only beginning. Ben returned to the city transformed. He left the call center, now working at a bookstore, surrounded by stories and people who mattered. Photography classes became a ritual, a way to witness life fully. Gabby remained by his side, curiosity shared and nurtured. Saturdays were sacred pilgrimages. The Overlook became a sanctuary of reflection, connection, and living deliberately. Thomas shared wisdom and grief, laughter and silence. Together, they honored Michael by living in alignment with his values, curiosity, presence, and love. Ben realized that life's purpose was not a destination, but a series of intentional choices, small acts of curiosity that ripple outward. The GPS had been the spark, but the journey had always been his own. On the bench, watching the sunset, Ben felt a profound sense of belonging. The story that began with a used car and a random address had blossomed into mentorship, friendship, romance, and self-discovery. Michael's letter, Thomas's guidance, and Ben's curiosity had intertwined to create a tapestry of life that was vibrant, imperfect, and entirely worth living. And as the sun vanished beyond the mountains, Ben whispered to the fading light, "Thank you for showing me how to live."